Recording is on.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga. This month we are focusing on a little bit longer held poses, more of a yin fashion, not quite as long as yin poses are held, but we are extending the length of the poses to really experience a nice stretch. Today I am focusing on opening up the hips, the external rotators of the hips, also the hip flexors. We'll focus on the quadriceps down the front of the thighs. I also had special requests to work neck and shoulders and lower back. So we'll hit all of those areas really nicely. I also want to start with a little bit of flexibility for the feet. And this was something that Esther asked about a little bit in class on Tuesday, is having the flexibility to point the foot forward when we're sitting on the floor. So what I want you to do is just stand up, come to a mountain pose. If you need a chair or wall to hold onto for balance, feel free to do that. And I just want you to take your right foot, pick it up off the floor and flip it over so you have the top of your foot facing the floor. Now for me, I feel a huge stretch all the way up the top of the arch of my foot. It even comes up into the ankle. So I want you to just hold that with whatever pressure that feels okay for you. And then we'll breathe in, sweeping the arms up. And breathe out. This might be a balance challenge for you. So just be nice and stable through your core. Start to center and focus on your body, on your breathing. One more breath. And then flip that foot back over. Shift your body weight to the right. Pick up your left foot. Turn the top of your foot to the mat. And your pressure can be whatever feels okay for you on this side. And I'm not really like crunching my toes. I'm trying to get my whole foot to come into plantar flexion. And we'll take 3 slow breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Just noticing if there's a difference on this foot from the other. And making sure that stretch doesn't feel painful. I do feel some discomfort, but it shouldn't be a painful stretch. And then we'll flip that foot back over. We'll come down onto your mat to your hands and knees. If you need some padding under your knees, make sure you have that. We'll be on the knees for a while. And then we'll take our right foot and extend it straight back behind you and tuck your toes under. So this is the opposite stretch for the foot. And then press up from your hands so that your left knee comes off the floor and push that left foot down again from the arch of the foot. So I have 2 separate stretches going here. On the right foot, I'm stretching the calf as I drop my heel down. The left foot, I'm stretching the top of the arch. You might even feel it into your front shin a little bit and into those toes. My arms are in a downward dog position, so a little bit of a stretch through the lats. And bring it back down. Then we'll switch. Take your left foot back. Tuck your toes under. Push up from your hands to lift your hips. Your right knee will come off the mat and push down into the arch of the right foot and drop the heel of the left. And come back into your breath. Expand your ribs as you breathe. And then we'll lower the knees back down to the mat. Press back into a child's pose and lengthen your fingertips toward the top of your mat. And try to round the outside edges of your shoulders down into the floor so you're really broadening through your shoulder blades. And then we're going to stretch our shoulder here in child's pose, but it's not a twist. So I want you to keep your head squared down toward your mat, but take your right arm, and it's like a thread the needle without twisting. You're just going to lay your shoulder down toward the floor, but keep your shoulders squared. And we'll breathe here. This should feel pretty gentle. Just a nice release for the deltoid and into the upper back. And then you might need to rise up just a little bit to slide that hand out to switch. Slide the left arm underneath you, but keep your shoulders squared toward the floor. Your forehead comes down to the mat, if possible. And I feel a difference on this side. And one more breath here. Raise up slightly to bring that arm out. Extend both arms long to the top of the mat. So this is our extended child's pose. I'm going to modify this a little bit to a pose called Anahatasana. It's more of a back bend. So lifting up, keep your hips right over your knees and walk your hands further out and start to tip your tailbone up. I'm really arching my back. The elbows might come to the floor, or maybe again the forehead, or if you have a pretty bendy back, you might be able to get your chest down and your chin down. So just find out where you can come here into this pose and allow your lower back to kind of be your guide as to how far that you can arch your back here. If anything feels uncomfortable in your shoulders, slide it back a little bit, or just take your extended child's pose. And one more breath, Anahatasana, or heart opener. And then very carefully start to walk your hands back in. Press yourself back up to all fours and round your back up into cat stretch. So this is the opposite of our Anahatasana. And just stay here in cat, pulling your abs in and breathe into the backside of your ribs. And then start to flow between cat and cow. Drop the belly, lift the tailbone, look forward, inhale. Exhale, scoop the belly, tuck the tailbone, round up into cat. And 2 more repetitions. And then we'll come to a neutral spine. Walk your hands in, come all the way up high onto your knees, and we'll take fists behind the sacrum on either side. Pull your elbows back, lift your heart, slightly squeeze your glutes, and come into your camel pose. So this is a nice spinal extension, but for me, I feel it a lot in the front of my thighs and my hip flexors because my quads are pretty tight. So just take this to wherever it feels okay for you. You can also tuck your toes underneath and reach your fingertips back toward your heels and open up your heart. And one more breath. And pull yourself back up. Sweep the arms forward and up. Inhale. Exhale, turn your body to the right and reach the right hand back toward that right heel. Or you can put your fist at your sacrum and take a twisting camel, looking over that right shoulder. We're still pushing both hips forward. And then really breathe into that left side rib cage. And you can be looking down over the shoulder or up toward the top hand. Then as you breathe in, lift back up, both arms lift. Breathe out, turn to the left side. Reach your left fingertips back toward your heel or place your fist at your sacrum on the side of your sacrum where that SI joint is for a little stabilization. And align both hips forward as best as you can. Reach through the fingertips. Really open up the right side ribs. And inhale, reach back up to center, both arms lifted. Exhale and do a swan dive back into child's pose, reaching the fingertips out nice and long. Forehead finds the mat if possible. And then we'll come up into downward facing dog, tucking the toes, lift the hips up nice and high. And we'll really work on stretching through the calf. So bend your left knee and push your right heel down. This also can be done from the elbows in our dolphin pose. One more breath. Then switch, bend your right knee, drop that left heel down. Now, if you can, get your leg completely straight on that left side. If you're tight in your hamstring, you can bend your knee a little bit. It'll change the effectiveness of the stretch slightly, but still really will lengthen the Achilles tendon. Then raise way up onto the toes. So you're flexing that first joint from the toes into the ball of the foot. Then sink both heels deeply into the mat. And then we'll lift the right leg, extending it up. Take a step forward toward the top of your mat between your hands. Drop your left knee down to the floor and come into a kneeling lunge. And make sure that right foot really sneaks way up toward the top of your mat. You might need a block underneath your left hand here, and we'll come into a twist to the right side. And to stretch your shoulder, we'll take that right hand and bring it behind the back, so the back of your hand is up against your lower back, and roll your shoulder back. And you're using the abdominal muscles, the obliques, to create that rotation. And sink into your left hip flexor, so keep dropping the hips down toward the floor. So two options with this pose. You can remain as you are, Or if you'd like to work more flexibility for your quadricep, this right hand can reach back to that left foot and pull it in toward the seat. For me to be able to do that, I need my yoga strap. So I have a little loop there. I'm just going to loop that strap under the bottom of the foot and then pull it in towards me. Getting it in position is the tough part. So we still have the twist. We have the heel in toward the glute. And I really feel that in that left quad. Let's hold here about another 15 seconds. Your gaze can be over the right shoulder, or you can look down toward your left hand on the mat if that feels more comfortable for your neck. And one more breath. If you have the ankle, release it. Bring your twist back to the center. Tuck your back toes under to lift the back knee up off the mat. You might need a little step forward with your back foot as we rise up into high crescent lunge. Just extending and reaching up, or goalpost arms to open up through the front of the chest. A little chest expansion. Then we'll interlace the hands behind the back. If you need to drop the back heel to the floor, you can turn your foot out just a little bit and let that heel land. And we'll come into a humble high crescent lunge or humble warrior. Dropping the head down toward that knee, lifting the arms up any amount from the back body. If you prefer, you can stay up in that lunge as well and just work on your chest expansion there. And if you're bowing in your humble position, pull up the strength of the back body and the front leg. Release the clasp of the hands, reach. And then we'll prepare to step back into our downward dog. So hands come down to the mat. Push back and drop the heels evenly in sync. And we'll switch sides by lifting the left leg up. Nice high lift. Step that foot between your hands up toward the top of the mat. You might need to help it forward with your hand. Drop your right knee down. Option to place a block under your right hand as we twist open to the left side. We'll really sink that right hip down. And then we rotate the left hand behind the back and pull that left shoulder way back behind you by firing the posterior oblique muscles. And then your option to stay here or to bend that back knee and see if you can reach for the foot. Option to use your yoga strap. Pulling it in with that rotation. This is one that my body really needs, and I tend to steer away from it because my quads are so tight and it's not a comfortable stretch. But if I can get into that place and breathe, I feel the benefits. About 15 seconds here. And then if you have hold of the foot, we'll release that. Come out of the twist, facing forward. Maybe tucking the back toes under and stepping forward just a little bit. Come up into your high crescent lunge. Arms reaching up or your goalpost. Then interlace hands behind your back. You can use your yoga strap behind your body as well. Option to go ahead and flatten that back foot down to the mat. That'll help with your balance a little bit. And then bow into your humble warrior position. A nice connection into the mat with your feet. Pressing into all four corners. And then pressing down into that front foot, we'll rise up. Release the clasp of the hands. Extend through the fingertips. And prepare to move back into your downward facing dog. You can always take a child's pose at any time here as well. Drop both heels and sink toward the earth. One more breath. Then we'll lift that right leg, extend it up, stretch. Step that foot toward the top of your mat. This time we'll keep the back knee lifted. Your option is to place that block underneath the left hand as we open up into our twist here. Now you can always drop that knee back down to the floor the way we first did the pose. And then we'll wrap that hand behind the back once again to rotate the shoulder open and to increase the twist through the mid-back. Gaze can be up or you can look down toward the bottom hand. So on this pose, your two choices are to stay as you are or to start to straighten out your front leg any amount. That's where you might definitely need that block to support you. So I have both legs long. This is our modified revolved triangle. You might feel this in the external rotator of the hip and into the IT band. "15 seconds we hold. And then if you have the leg straight, rebend the knee, come out of the twist, reaching your fingertips down to the mat, maybe take a little step forward with that back foot as we rise up into high crescent lunge. And your goalpost arms. Interlace hands behind your back. Either staying up on the ball of the foot or you can flatten that heel to the floor. Staying lifted or bow into your humble warrior. And again, on this one, option to straighten the front leg any amount to really stretch your hamstring. And then if that leg is straightened, rebend your front knee. Press yourself up. Release the clasp of the hands. Inhale, reach. And prepare to move into your down dog as we transition to the other side. Lifting the left leg, stretch up. Big step forward toward the top of your mat. Back knee stays up this time. Optional block under your right hand as we twist open. And then revolve the arm behind the back. So if that feels a little bit too challenging for your shoulder, you can always just place your hand on your hip and then pull your body back into that twist. So our option to stay here or to start to straighten out that front leg any amount. You might need to go up to a higher position on your block in order to do that and to support you for balance. So I really feel this in the left hamstring, the right calf, releasing the external rotator of that left hip and IT band. And then if you have the legs straight, rebend the front knee. Come out of the twist, both hands come down. Maybe taking a little step forward with your back foot or rise up to high crescent lunge. And to goalpost arms. And then clasping the hands into chest expansion or using your yoga strap. Either staying up on the ball of the back foot or flattening your heel down. We'll come into our humble warrior position. And then option to straighten out the front leg. Just going where your body feels best today. Listening and feeling to those sensations that are in your muscles, in your tendons. Watching for signs that you're overstretching. And we'll rebend that front knee. Press and rise up. Releasing the clasp of the hands. Inhale, reach. And our last downward facing dog. Pressing into both heels. Holding and breathing. So we are going to do 3 different stretches for our quads. The first one is from our belly. So drop down and lay all the way down on to your front side, prone. You might need your yoga strap as we're going to pull the right heel up toward the glute and stretch the quad here. The left hand makes a little pillow for your forehead. If this isn't accessible and you don't have a yoga strap, sometimes it's nice just to roll over onto your side and get a hold of the ankle, and then you can bring it here from a sideline position. Or once you have it, you might be able to roll back over and come into a comfortable place. And then we'll slightly tighten the right glute to push the front of the hip into the mat to create a little bit more stretch. You also might feel more stretch if you press yourself up onto your elbow and come into a little bit of a back bend lifted. So just experiment with this and decide where you'd like to be. We'll stay here about another 30 seconds. And whenever you reach back and grab your ankle or your foot, you can either hold the outside of your ankle where your palm is facing the outside, or you can turn your hand and grab the inside of your ankle. Sometimes that gives you a better shoulder stretch. So just kind of see where that feels better for you to hold. Last breath. And then exhale to release. And take your time to switch sides. So you might need to roll to your right side to collect your left ankle, or switch your yoga strap under the bottom of that foot. And just relax and breathe. So sometimes range of motion problems in our knee makes it impossible to grab the ankle. So that's where that yoga strap comes in really handy. But if you don't have that, can't get it at all, then just let go and bend your knee and just let that stretch work its magic without holding on. We'll squeeze the left glute and push the front of the left hip into the mat. Or we can rise up to the elbow, which increases that stretch in the hip flexor. Make sure you're not gripping in your jaw or tightening through your shoulders. Just relax and breathe. And one more breath here. Inhale. And exhale to relax the ankle. The second mode of stretching our quad will be from the hands and knees. So press yourself up to all fours. You can always come back to the belly and do the first stretch again. So we'll stretch the right quad by extending the right leg back. Bend your knee, tighten the glute, and push that leg up to the ceiling. Option 1, staying here. Option 2, the left hand reaches back to find the ankle or place the strap around and coming up into your kneeling half bow. So when we were laying on our belly, the right hand grabbed the right ankle. This time we have an opposite. So we have the left hand grabbing the right ankle, and our body's essentially in spinal balance. So we're balancing on the right hand and the left knee for a nice little element of core control. Squeeze that right glute and lift the leg up a little bit higher if you can. And we'll hold about 15 seconds. Exhale, release the ankle. Let that leg come down, and then take a cat stretch just to counter the position of your back, and a little stretch for your lumbar spine. And then switching sides, extend your left leg straight back. Bend your knee, flexing the foot, squeeze your glute, and push your leg up to the ceiling. So it's okay to stay just as you are, or you can take your right hand, reach back, either with your strap or with the hand, collect the ankle, and come up into your kneeling half bow. So really be aware of your right shoulder when you're holding that foot. That's a pretty big stretch for the front of that right shoulder. Make sure that feels okay for you. What's nice about using the yoga strap is once you get it around your ankle, you can actually bring it over your shoulder and hold it here rather than having your hand behind you into that big stretch. Feel the core connection as you're balanced between the left hand and the right knee. And let's get 3 more slow breaths. Releasing the ankle, come back to all fours, round the back up into cat, tuck your tailbone under, lengthening through the lumbar spine. And then come back to neutral. So now we have 2 different positions for that quad stretch. On the belly, on our hands and knees. Our final one will be standing, which will involve balance. So again, you can come back to number 1 or number 2 if standing feels a little bit uncomfortable for you to stretch your quad. So let's tuck the toes, lift the hips, walk the feet forward, come into a forward bend. You can linger there for a couple of breaths and then roll your spine all the way up to stand. So this is our dancer pose. We'll stretch the right quad first. If you need to hold on to a chair or wall, be sure you're doing that for balance. And we need to be able to get a hold of the ankle here. So if it's not possible for you to reach it, then grab your yoga strap, place it around your ankle, come up and find your balance and pull that heel toward the glute. So in dancer pose, we can stay straight up and down, or we can start to hinge forward from the hip, like we're coming into a warrior 3 with the leg up behind us. So I'm going to give you a good minute here to work on this pose wherever you are today. If your goal is mostly balance, then don't worry about finding the stretch. Just worry about stabilizing and breathing. And then you can take it a little deeper when you're ready. About 15 seconds. If you drop out of the pose, take your time to come back in. And then release that right ankle. Just allow your hips to move back and forth a little bit, shake everything out. You might be feeling a lot of work in that standing leg. And then we will switch, standing on the right foot for balance, collecting the ankle, use your strap if needed. And find a place where you can hold. Maybe testing the waters, tipping forward. And same principle, we want to squeeze that glute of the leg we're stretching and try to lift the leg up behind us. Really feeling all 4 corners of your standing foot and all those little auxiliary muscles that are working in your ankle to support you here. Standing knee can have a slight bend. We don't want to lock out that knee joint. About 15 seconds. And then releasing that side. Nicely done. Come down to seated as we come into some hip openers. I have my blanket here to sit on. Sometimes that makes the stretches a little bit more accessible and more comfortable. So just come to simple cross-leg pose. Sit up nice and tall. Before we begin, tip your right ear toward your right shoulder to relax the neck. And then left ear, left shoulder. And back to neutral. We'll start with a modified pigeon. So take your left leg, bring it around to the side. So I'm sitting in a Z-sit position. And then walk your hands forward and fold over that front leg. Now you can certainly extend your left leg further behind you into a full pigeon if that feels better for you today. Or just hold in the modified stretch. We're just focusing on opening up the right hip, the external rotators of the hip, maybe into the upper attachment of your hamstring on that right leg as well. So I have my fists stacked so I can support my forehead. You can also use your block if your head doesn't touch the mat in front of you. Or you can put your elbows onto your block and support your forehead into the palms of your hands. Just a couple more breaths here. And then walk those hands in to press yourself up. And we'll come into fire log pose. So the right leg stays as it is. The left leg comes around and we flex this foot and place it toward the inside of your right leg and then just let this knee relax. Now my fire log pose isn't very much like logs being stacked because my hips are so tight and this knee is really up. But holding wherever this feels comfortable for you, making sure you don't feel any pain in your knee, holding that stretch. Some of you might be able to fold over your legs here. So if this is really a problematic pose for you, you can also just do simple cross-leg pose, and this left foot would be crossed in front of the right, and then fold here. It's amazing how much difference that makes for me to be able to come forward. I'm going to do as best as I can here. Oh, I already feel like this has come down a little bit. And if you can, just close your eyes, come inside and breathe. If you're sitting up tall, you can also add your neck stretches in as you're holding, maybe some neck rolls. And we have about 15 seconds to hold. All right, let's very carefully unfold the legs here. Now your left foot will be the front foot for modified pigeon. Your right foot comes around to the side. We're in our Z sit. And then the upper body walks forward, down any amount to stretch that deep external rotator on the left hip. Stacking your fists, maybe using your block to support your head. Just relax and breathe. Sometimes differences from one side to the other will be really obvious at the beginning. So be aware of that and intentional in where you move on this side. And you can let your right leg slide back behind you into a full pigeon if you like. And perhaps you can sink a little deeper for our remaining time here. Two more breaths. And then slowly begin to rise up, walk those hands in. And let's see how you go for fire log on this side. So we're going to swing that leg around. We have a flex in the ankle. We bring the foot to the inner thigh and let this knee open out. Now, if you've got a big pillow or a blanket, you can place it underneath this leg to give yourself some support here, which is really nice. And then as you're holding, you can either fold yourself forward. If this is feeling really challenging, you can just cross this foot in front and fold forward into simple cross-leg pose. If you're sitting straight up, you can add some neck stretches and movements. And focus on a sinking breath. You'll inhale fully and then exhale twice as long as it took you to breathe in. And 15 seconds remaining. And then we'll carefully unfold the legs and extend them straight out in front of you. The knees have been bent for a bit, so you might need to just shake them out a little bit or flex and point the ankles. And we'll take a forward fold. So keeping the back as straight as you can press from behind your body to come forward, or you can reach out toward the feet, or you can grab your yoga strap, place it under the balls of the feet, give yourself a little pull back and forward. Now try to really relax your lower back here in this forward fold. If you feel any discomfort there, you can back off on the stretch or bend your knees any amount. One more breath here in our forward fold. And then releasing, rise back up. We'll take the right foot and bend the knee either in toward you on the right side of your left leg, or you can cross it over to the other side. Hug that knee in toward your chest, sit tall, and twist. And when we twist, the twist happens gradually from each vertebrae in our back. So try not to just focus on one zone and twisting from there, but just like a little string of pearls, we'll find a little bit of rotation in each one of the vertebrae. And then come back to the center, and with the same position of the legs, switch the twist to the other side. You might feel like you can go a little farther here. This is the open side of the twist. And then coming back to the midline, if the foot is crossed, place it on the same side as we take a single leg forward fold. So you can keep this knee up and reach through that knee, or you can let your knee open to the side, whichever is more comfortable for you. If you let the knee open, you're going to get that little bit of an inner thigh stretch as well. Maybe using your yoga strap or holding behind the foot, stretch yourself forward. And one more breath. And rising up. Good. Switching sides. The right leg goes long. The left knee bends. It can stay on this side of the leg or across. Hug your knee in. This will open up the external rotator of the hip and rotate to the left side first. That's the closed side of the twist. And really important to sit up as tall as you can when you're twisting to create room for the discs between the vertebrae. And then counter your twist to the other side, still with a long spine, to the open side of the twist. And we're really turning our head as far as we can to work our neck through a good range of motion as well. Coming back to center, uncross the foot. If you're keeping your knee up, you want about a fist distance so you can get your shoulder through to hold the stretch here, or let that knee fall open and stretch. And we focus on relaxing the lower back, the hips, the back of the upper leg, the hamstring muscle, and our calves as well. Our last breath here. And rising up, our last pose to hold is Badakonasana, or butterfly, where the soles of both feet are together, the knees open. And you can choose to stay upright or to walk your fingertips forward any amount to hold that stretch. And we relax through the inner thigh, through the groin. The belly is soft. Lower back is releasing. The hips are softening. 3 more breaths. And walk the hands in. You can either remain as you are or come into a more comfortable place as we close our practice. Maybe simple cross-leg pose. Elongate your spine. And we'll finish with a side bend each direction. We'll reach the right arm up, extend, exhale, and open up through the side waist. And rise up and switch. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lateral flexion of the spine, which is great for the QL muscle in our lower back. And inhale, both arms up. Press the palms of the hands together, draw thumbs into the heart, maybe slightly bow the chin toward the chest, lengthen the back of the neck. And in this Anjali Mudra, we express our gratitude, our respect, and our honor. And I am grateful this day for the honor to lead you through this practice. And the light and joy that reside within me, honor the light and joy in each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing part of your morning with me. If you can share a few minutes more and stay on for a chat, that would be great. Otherwise, I hope to see you tomorrow for Backyard Boot Camp. I think the wind is going to be calmer, so if anybody wants to come into the backyard, let me know. Have a great day, everybody.